What is going on, everybody? We're back at it with another stream, another live. And yes, this is the follow up show of Comic Con. What a show, what a con. We got a lot to talk about. So before I get talking, let's get the first one in here. Like, he's a fan of the show. And of course, he is the king of pop culture. He is the pop culture word himself, my best friend, CQ, my brother. How are you tonight?
Good, man. Good. Thanks for
Yeah.
having me.
And time. All right, we got another guest tonight, and his name is Robert. We met at con, and he is a pretty good guy. What's going on, Robert?
Doing good, man. Thank you for inviting me to be on your show.
All right, anytime. We're expecting two more guests, guys, so just bear with us. He'll be on a little later on. So, con, how was your con, guys? First, seriously, how was it? How did you guys your experience?
Very good.
Yeah, Robert, I know it was your first one. You want to go first?
I loved it. For me, it context. I'm with lordsofgaming.net, and I went to New York Comic Con through with the press, so I was able to explore the convention, have a great time. I went to two panels, one focused on Hasbro stuff and another focused on Monster Hunter. And there was two other things, but you can look at lordsofgaming.net for that specifically. But in terms of everything, it was my first Comic Con. I went to Anime Expo like in August, but this was the first time being at a proper Comic Con, and it was quite the experience. Being able to see cosplayers, being able to go to all the different booths, and I am getting all kinds of really cool merch while I was there. I got this little Sonic figure while I was there, and I also got this little Sonic portrait. And on the way out of the convention, as a big fan of the show when I was growing up, I finally got around to getting this, which is a graphic novel that takes place after that show ended. And honestly, it just was a really great experience being able to just be around like a lot of people who love the same stuff I do. It was just uh specific highlights included like the Nickelodeon booth where there was a whole SpongeBob setup where you could go inside SpongeBob's house, do like the lift up the teddy bear weights, and they took a video of that, and you can kind of share it on your social medias and everything, and a little like feed like the fish people with the spatula, and a little mini game, and like your score was kind of listed alongside all the other people that were there, and it was really cool. Another highlight was being able to play a whole bunch of games. There was a lot more games than I expected. Not the indie scene for video games, I felt wasn't that present at Comic Con, but the trade off was there was a lot of bigger games that were there. The game that that I was able to play and I did coverage for was Monster Hunter Wilds. The line was quite long. I waited almost 2 hours to play the game, but it was my first proper Monster Hunter, and I gotta say it was quite fun being able to take down one of those big monsters with a team of 4 people. Um, and I went to a panel that broke down a lot of really cool stuff that's going to be in the game coming out next year. You can read my article at Lords of Gaming covering Monster Hunter, and major shout out to fellow editor Gene, who encouraged me to play Monster Hunter and do coverage on it. I also played Little Nightmares 3, and that was that was my first Little Nightmares game. And the whole vibe of that game is you play like these little like puppet claymation like characters, and it's like a 3D platform, and you solve puzzles. The AI partner is very smart and works with you, doesn't fight against you. And while the audio in the demo didn't exactly work as it was supposed to, it was cutting in and out. I definitely felt like the oppressive atmosphere and like the Tim Burton-esque energy that they had for the game, and it was really cool. Another major highlight was there was a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles booth from Paramount to promote not only their line of figures for Turtles, but also the as of this live recording slash stream, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutants Unleashed. It's like this 3D action platformer with elements from the Persona franchise, and for like where you can talk of other characters, and you through those bonds you get like experience points and boost up a skill tree. It's a really fun game, and being able to see how much passion and care they put into the booth, it was amazing. And so many highlights at Comic-Con. There's a lot. There's so many different booths you can go to, from Crunchyroll, an entire Dragon Ball booth where you can take pictures with various like statues of like Goku and like in like semi chibi form based on the latest Dragon Ball Daima series that's airing right now. There's a whole like Naruto booth you could take a picture in front of like one of the characters in the show, and like there was a Marvel booth where you could take a picture with like that's kind of themed around the upcoming animated Spider-Man show. There's so much cool stuff there, but I wasn't the only one that went, so I humbly pass it off to the next person who wants to chime in.
Hey, man, jeez, whew. He really did a number covering it. This was not my first New York Comic Con or Comic Con in general. I've been going to cons, oh God, so many years, and then covering them as a member of the press for the last 4 or 5 years. New York Comic Con is one of my favorites. It's one of my all-time favorites. It's from my home. I'm originally from New York, so anytime I get to go back, it's fun. It's really, I know it's technically second behind San Diego Comic Con as the biggest in the country, but obviously it's huge to me, and it's a great time every year we get to go. And this year there was so much that we saw, so much that we did. I can't even, lucky to have a 4-man team so that we could cover it. So shout out to Jake, who went with me. King was a huge part of it, and King's friend Will, because we were in panels, we were in interviews, we were in walking the show floor, experiencing all the different things. A lot of cool stuff. Some of my favorites were Bandai Namco. Really took us in, and we had a great time with them, and we got some private time at their booth and walking around and checking out what they did. Shot a lot of good coverage for that. And they were, one of the cool things they were doing is they had these snap figures. I actually have them. They're back there in the background. But they're, I grew up in the age of where, when you wanted to build a model like a Gundam or a plane or a car or whatever, you had to snap the pieces off, and you had to like sand them and then glue them and then prime them and then paint them and do all the detailing. And they're releasing these really simple kits that are snap and play. They're already colored. They're already, you add a little accents with like stickers and things, but realistically it's just pop it off, click, and it's good to go. And I got to try that out.
The Gundam booth was beautiful.
Yeah, yep. And so I got to do that. I did the Goku, I did the Pikachu one. I know there was a Gundam one. And it was really, really awesome, really cool to try out that. And I think it's going to open it up for, it was an intimidating thing when I was a kid, trying to do these models. Like, you had to be a professional to do them. But I think this is a really cool way to open it up and make it accessible for a lot of people who maybe aren't as good at doing that kind of stuff. But yeah, there was so much. There was games. Got to see, I have a lot of friends that over the years I've made through different vendors, artists and sellers. It's always great to see them and get to hang out with them. And yeah, man, we got a lot of really cool stuff. we were part of the Winona Earp podcast announcement, and got to meet with the cast of the franchise, talk to the creators of the upcoming horror slasher horror flick, Traction Park Massacre. I mean, it just really did a lot of really cool stuff, and it's really a cool thing to when you get to see people in the industry that you really look up to. Like, I'm a big fan of the guys over at comicbook.com, and so I bumped into Chris Killiam and Brandon Davis, who are huge in the pop culture uh, journalistic side of things, and I really respect their work, and getting to sit down and just chat with them, and that was really cool. Yeah, so overall it was a fun time, and I'm always excited to share about New York Comic Con and my experience there, and I appreciate you having us on, Pete.
So before I get my comment, I gotta get this guy in here because I gotta give his intro. Yes, I brought the president in here. You know who it is, and I have to give him a salute. Once again, I'm the only furry motherfucker on this show. Why am I always the one to have hair only on the show? Like, go ahead, Paul. I know you guys said your 7B network thing. Go ahead. I know you guys.
Well, first of all, it is always my delight to share the panel with such bold and beautiful, beneficent, benevolent ball brotherhood. It is so good when the balldom gets together, and so
We stick together.
I love the follically free lifestyle. I tell you, I save so much money from barbers and all that kind of stuff.
Preach, preach.
So absolutely,
so expensive.
100%, and so I created this network of ball brotherhood specifically to salute and honor those who live the follically free lifestyle. So Pete, he's been trying me to get to grow hair, to grow beards and whatnot, but I just like the clean set. I like looking like Delta. I feel like I'm surrounded by Deltons here. I mean, this is great. I mean, this is awesome. So, yeah.
Seriously?
Seriously.
I can't ever win this goddamn battle. At least, you know what? At least I'm not the only one who has some face right here. At least CQ has at least a little goatee. I know
he's got a little distinction there. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But
before I get you in here, Paul, I know I've been going to Comic-Con for, I can't remember how many years now. It's been going on for a couple of years. I think my first con was back in 12. It was back in 2012, the first one. It was mind-blowing for me. And excuse me, correct me, the last 3 years we've been going together, right? I'm not mistaken? I think 3 years? Something like that, right?
To me?
Hey, you seen another CQ around here?
The
guy behind you I'm talking to. 3 or 4 years we've been going together. I know, at least, give or take.
Wow. I mean, going together, or do you mean we were both there at the same time?
Going together. Not that 1 year that I was looking for you at your booth when you were doing the Winter Warrior, and people go to me, we have no idea who Mike is. I'm like, seriously? And of course, the service at Comic-Con sucks. And he couldn't.
That was such a problem for me because I was trying to, because I didn't go to Comic-Con alone. Like the Iron Lords podcast, the four lords were present with me, and two of the editors also was present at different times throughout the convention. And at one point, I lost him. I'm like, "Where's everybody?" And I tried using my phone, and I got no reception. It's fun when that happens.
That was the issue we had at least the last couple of years. I don't remember what was it. The first year we went together, we got separated. When I was trying to get a hold of you, I couldn't get a hold of you because there was no freaking service in there. And it's that's gonna be a problem for years. I think they're never gonna fix that problem because you got so many people in that center. I'm not sure how much that house. I think a couple thousand at least, maybe more. But that's still gonna be a problem for a while. Paul, this was your first Comic-Con, am I not mistaken, right? You're muted, buddy.
Sorry about that. Actually, it's probably my first con. Okay. Period. Like I look, I'm a blurred. Okay, that's a black nerd. So I've always grown up that way. But for some reason or another, I've never gone to a con. I know that I've been in hotels where cons have gone on. So I know one time I was down in Philadelphia, There was a Philly con. There was one. I was in Richmond, Virginia. There was a con going on. So I was in the atmosphere, but I was there for other reasons. So I never got a chance to actually participate and kind of see what was there. So yeah, so this is my first, and man, I mean, this is for someone who's never gone to one, it is overwhelming. I mean, it is, and this was a double. It was doubly so for us because again, we got the news early in the week that CQ had opened up some opportunities for us to do interviews. Now, again, I know Pete and I, we have a show, we have a gray area on Sundays on the BMD network and whatnot. So we're used to interviewing people and talking to people. I wasn't expecting that. So here it is. I had two interviews. One with the Infinity game. They're making like a live animated feature. So it started off as a board game. Then it became a video game. Now they're coming out with a sort of a pilot for a potential series that's coming up. So I interviewed, the producer, the main graphic guy, and when I look at these credentials of some of these people, it's like, oh wow, I mean these are like top people. And then certainly I was in for the Winona Earp group, and they were releasing an audio book through Audible. And so I'm literally in there with the cast, with the executive producer, who's done everything from Deadpool to, I mean, just so many titles that were, so I gotta admit, I'm like, wow, this is cool. But I gotta admit, I didn't freak out, but I was kind of like, all right, I gotta play this cool. Like I have to, because I'm next to people from Screen Rant. And I mean, these are like people who do this for a living. So I have to go in there and I'm trying to ask questions. And also coupled with that was I've never seen the properties. Like I've never watched Winona Earp. I mean, it's one thing with me, I'm kind of old school. You can tell from the shirt. So I'm a big G fan. I'm a big Star Wars, Star Trek fan. A lot of the early 70s animated for like Gotcha Man, Battle of the Planet, stuff like that. I'm not up on everything. So here I am in a room with some folks whose series I never watched. So I did the night before, I sort of did the Cliff Notes version of it. So I went on YouTube. I got, just to get a heads up on Winona Earp series seasons 1 through 3. And then also on the Infinity game, had to get up on that also just to get some knowledge, at least get some familiarity with what I'm talking about. And now I'm at this table with these insiders, and they got, the cameras, and they got the stuff, and they got, so I'm trying not to embarrass myself, but also not to embarrass CQ, because again, we are representing his channel and his network. And so, I wanted to, treat that very seriously. But I think I was able to get through it. I thought some questions and I got some good feedback from, especially from the executive producer from Winona Earp, saying, you know what, that's that's some very good insight on things. And that kind of gave me some relief that, okay, I was able to just land the plane. But when I came out of there, I was mentally exhausted. Again, trying to hold it together, again, making sure that, is this a plan? Or is this a troll or something like that? I said, no, I'm part of the WTF Nation network here, but I'm trying to make sure that I land the plane and that I don't certainly embarrass myself with the network. So again, CQ, certainly really appreciate the opportunity. That's definitely like throwing a kid into the pool and seeing they can swim or not. That's exactly what it felt like.
Ocean.
Yeah.
Ocean.
Oh, I apologize. I need to apologize to you because I threw you in the deep end in lava and fire. And I like after I was like talking to CQ the next day about this. I go, man, that was the first one. Like, you go, Jesus Christ, dude, you threw him in the end. You made him drown. You put like 100 pounds weights on both ankles, let him sink down. I'm like, uh-oh.
Yeah. So it was. But it was awesome. I mean, it kind of getting an idea how that works. I mean, you had people people came in with videographers, with microphones, going against the background of the Comic-Con booth. So it's like you see the videos of people. In fact, I watched some interviews of some of that cast being interviewed by other reporters, just to kind of get an idea of who some of these people were. And I'm like, I'm in the room. It's like, yeah, that's kind of how it's done, you know. So it was definitely a very unique experience. So that being said, I didn't get a chance to see, I guess, as much of the Comic-Con because I mean, we were in there probably what, Pete, about an hour and a half, almost 2 hours, as far as getting that content and everything.
Yeah,
So
when we started going to the press stuff, we're there in a good 2 hours because it was one after the other. You
right,
were first, then I was there, and
then
I
you
didn't realize
went,
how nervous I got when I in there. And I looked back, I'm like, my, why I have dents in my hand? I was holding my camera so tight, and how
yeah,
nervous I got, and I was
yeah,
in. I'm like, why is my hand hurting afterwards?
yeah.
And me and Rob were sitting next to each other. I don't know if you realized how nervous I was. I'm like, I'm like,
I didn't pick up on that at all.
Yeah, I
what?
mean, it was like I became the actor. You know what I mean? Because like I'm in there, and like now, look, I'm a genuinely curious person, so like I want to know about people, and the questions I asked were more so about motivations and intentions and the experience. I didn't ask about okay, so in season one, in that episode, like I didn't have that reference, right? So or like I said, I never played the game, so I didn't have those kind of things to it. But from what I was, and I had to, and I got to give a special thanks to my man who just joined tonight, Eric, Eric Newman, who's on here because again, he's the one who kind of got me a little bit into the anime genre growing up. So again, I said my main anime references is Akira and Appleseed and those kind of early anime things, whatever. So that was like the only reference that I had. He got me watching Dune back in 1984. He got me into so he's like really he would have definitely loved this environment. So I lean on a lot of all those times in Highland Park, being with him and him kind of taking me through a lot of this sci-fi that because I was mostly like a Star Trek, Star Wars. That was like nothing else mattered except for those two franchises. So he expanded my world, and I just remembered leaning on some of that. So I actually called him later that Sunday, and I thanked him. I was like, "Yeah, if it wasn't for you, I probably would have, certainly embarrassed myself a lot." But I drew on some of those science fiction references that I had. So, but just getting back to the con, like I said, I didn't get a chance to see a lot in terms of all the exhibits and booths and what it's massive as you guys know. But one thing that I was able to do that was I wasn't going to do it, but I got to give credit to Pete. He kind of found it. Now it's something I've always wished that I did,
Oh,
but I
I know where you're
never,
going with this
I
already.
never,
Where are you going?
but I never pulled it off. But so this is my first Vader's Vault lightsaber,
That's so
and
cool.
and well, actually, there's some controversy with this because I went on the Vader's Vault website because I didn't know what it was. Like it looked cool, but I was trying to get, I like to know what the name of it is, the designer, and all that. It wasn't on Vader's Vault, but it was on NEO Sabers, and it's called the Battalion Saber on NEO. So initially, I was asking, in fact, I asked NEO, it's like, is Vader's Vault and NEO, are you guys partners or something, or are you guys, does Vader's Vault own you guys or something? Say no, there's no relationship. So that was a little puzzling, but I like the saber, and it was like said my first major purchase because the timing was just never. I got three kids, man, so I had to buy braces, I had to buy all kinds. So I never. This is the first time I actually like just kind of geeked out and got something for myself. Other than that, it's all CQ knows. It's all about the fam, right? So I was like, you know what? Pete and CQ they hooked me up to be there, and I said, you know what, let me just go on this guy. It was reasonably priced, and yeah, and I got my own, and I've been kind of playing with it and geeking over it. I got some cosplay stuff, so Halloween I'll just kind of go out on this, and yeah, so so it was just a great time. Again, thanks Pete for the shirt. Again, that's one. I mean, you go with Pete, he won't let you like pay for anything. You know what I mean? It's like we went up to Astoria afterwards. We had to go to the Greek food truck there to get some as he said
Oh, trust me, you and me have gotten
some
to
real
arguing about this already.
gyros.
He
Some
knows I
real
don't ever come
gyros.
empty-handed.
Yes, yes. So he took care of me very well, and so I really appreciate the experience. CQ, I certainly appreciate the extended access that I was able to get, and but if I ever do that again, I will definitely do my best to be educate myself again on the properties and on franchises, and really want to, certainly represent well. And but yeah, that to say it was an experience is saying a lot. But yeah, happy to be there, and just that vibe is just unbelievable. The cosplay and everything. I mean, folks go all out over there. So
What was your favorite cosplay? Mine was there. It was insane. All of them. It was really. It was. What's interesting for me is for the cosplays is, this isn't my first con. I went to Anime Expo earlier, and I was so nervous to talk to people
right.
that I really didn't ask people. Oh, can I take a picture? But I felt a lot
Yeah,
more
that was I was kind of feeling the same way. I mean, I definitely saw some people like really geeked out, and then I was like, can I add? I mean, like, because like I said, I don't know
That's
what
the
that
thing.
environment,
You
but it
can
seemed like
ask,
that's the thing. Yeah, you can ask and take pictures with people and
and
whatnot.
they love.
Yeah, I mean,
It's awesome.
yeah. So it was very interesting. Just kind
So
of yeah.
I learned this the hard way last year with CQ. Most of his cosplays, they want you to take pictures. That's how they get promoted by
Mm,
being on Facebook and doing all this stuff. So, and that's a big thing with them. So it's definitely a big part of being a crossplay because some people do this for a living, actually, believe it or not.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I can't remember her name. She was doing she was dressing as one of the Mortal Kombat characters last year. CQ. It was
Ireland
like
Reed.
she was retiring
Yeah.
her costume. Can't remember her. Do you remember her name, any chance?
Ireland Reed.
Yeah, and she was a sweetheart. And like she was taking pictures of everybody. She was, shaking hands, hugging, and like I'm like, wow, it's just actually cool. Like I went up to her, like, how much is charging? Like, it's free. And I'm like, no, nothing's free at Comic-Con. I go, yeah, it's free. So
The thing is, that was something I've also learned about the voice actors who also are going to Comic Con because I was initially very like, this was like I think on day 3, my last day, I went with I met up with one of the editors, and we was walking around the booths, and I made it a point. It's like I'm gonna stop by one of the former Sonic voice actors and the current Tails voice actor. They both voice act for the games, and say hi. But I wasn't willing. I didn't want to spend money to get like autographs and pictures because those are typically pretty expensive.
Mhm.
But after everything was said and done, I want to talk to one of the editor buddy, and he told me, you could have just showed them you was part of the press and you just wanted to talk with them more. I didn't even think of that.
Mhm.
The more
so
you know.
before I have a little story what happened this year, I want to get Elizabeth. And Elizabeth, how are you, honey?
Hi, I'm good. Sorry,
Well,
I'm not on camera because I just got back from Ren Fair, so I took a shower and I was like, oh yeah, right, camera. So
You're good. You're good. You're good. So Comic-Con. What's your thoughts?
Yeah.
How was your first? Was your first con, or how was it in general for you? Was it your first one or no?
It wasn't my first Comic-Con, but it was my first New York Comic-Con. And I've wanted to go for so long. And so I think just getting the chance to finally get to go was just like it was a dream come true. Um and I mean I went with a press pass for Culture Slate magazine. And that was just really neat because like yeah, I also made sure to have fun at the con, but then I also was able to like have fun interviewing people, which was not anything I'd really done before. Like other cons I've gone to have been like more smaller cons or like gaming conventions. And I have tried to like interview people that are like small game designers or something. So like nothing that's actually set up by like PR. So I was like, I'm way out of my depth here, but that's fine. um, so it was a lot of fun. Definitely the biggest con I've gone to, which is saying something because the last one I went to was Gen Con, and that one is huge. But yeah, this is definitely a big one. And just yeah, had a blast. Had a lot of really random interactions with a whole bunch of people. Yeah, it was fun.
So the funny story that I had, you're gonna kick out of CQ. So I was wearing my Uso shirt I got last year from Comic Con. I just random shirt I picked. I didn't even thinking of it. So posing line trying to get an autograph of
Rikishi.
coming out of
Rikishi.
His
Yeah.
manager looks up, it checks me up and down. I'm like, what the hell is going on here? Why is this guy checking me out? He goes, you bought that shirt from me last year. I go like down. Oh yeah. I go like I just threw it on, dude. I didn't even think of it. 5 minutes later, he goes to me, yo, do me a favor, go say hi to the boss man. I'm like, okay, why? He goes, just do me a favor. He looks at me like, oh, good man. He goes to me, I'm like, he starts bullshit for 10 minutes, like over the shirt, like, I'm happy seeing another Uso. I'm like, but I'm not Hawaiian, I'm Greek. I thought it was the funniest thing in the world. Then we end up talking to Mankind. And here's a kicker now. Mankind's best friend is my mom's doctor. I'm like, huh? Oh, okay, that's interesting. And he was used to go by the name the Doctor back in the day, and I was like, oh, that's pretty cool actually. I'm like, my mom's doctor used to choke slam people, so okay, that's kind of interesting. I'm like, you never know where you can meet people sometimes.
Yeah.
So
Small world.
Yeah. But you got a new lightsaber too, so Siki, right?
Yeah, I did. I've learned to limit my spending when going to conventions. As you can see by my background, I have spent way too much over the years on different things. So I've like I always, I get something for my kid. And some people will be like, hey, pick me up this and I'll send you the money, whatever. Okay, fine. But when it comes to purchasing for myself, I always limit myself. I find, because I'm there for usually 3-4 days. I always look and I'm like, I'm gonna get the one thing that I got, like the Captain America shield was one year. So this year was a lightsaber, and I dropped a decent amount. I had one custom made and with all the effects and whatnot. And but I'm gonna put it to use. I'm gonna be a fucking Jedi for Halloween, and I'm already coming up with ideas of like how to make this purchase last. So
That's how I
yeah.
feel when I buy things.
It's funny because a couple years back when I bought my first lightsaber, it was this one from Sable Force. And if you remember, CQ, I dropped 800 on the sucker. And I'm like kicking myself in the ass because sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I actually just literally took it apart yet last night, regutted it and refixed it. I had to restart the wires. That's why when Paul was looking at don't go to Sable Force, that they're not the great.
Yeah, I was going there. He kind of does me the
away from there. I'm like, and I'm surprised how cheap it were at Vader's Vault. They usually run for 800 and over.
Yeah,
but
I mean, they had tiers there. I mean,
yeah, they had different lots.
Yeah,
I think the top one was like 10,000, but that was like a custom gold engraved.
No, I'm good.
Whatever.
Yeah.
I'll be getting a loan from you guys if I need to go for 10,000.
Right.
Like it was like even meeting celebrities. Like I met a couple of other Power Rangers again. Like I always meet one of them every year. I collected autographs. I have a little collection in the back if you see. And every celebrity has been the sweetest people out there. And like that is the thing I love about going to cons. When they meet the fans, they want to be there. It's not like they're forced to be there. If that makes sense.
It depends. If I'm being honest, I'd love to say that like everybody that's there is there for altruistic reasons and just loves being a part of it. But the reality it is a business for them. They are there to make money. But I can say that for me, having done this for years and interviewing people, there's a clear distinction of the people that I have to be here, but I'm going to make the most of it. And I want to leave a lasting impression. And these people that are standing in line, I want to give them a show. I want to give them the best of me, right? Because we all have bad days. We all have days we're not feeling well, or we don't have the energy or whatever it is. But you can clearly tell the difference of the people that are like, I'm going to make the most of this versus I'm contractually obligated to be here. I take my picture, I sign my thing, move on next, and it's a business transaction. I met Steve from Blue's Clues, and
that's so cool.
He was the nicest guy, absolutely nicest guy, sweetheart. And you can tell this was I think at the end of a con, he was physically, emotionally exhausted. Like he looked like a dead battery, but he was still trying to like, every person that's in the line, I want to say hi and I want to interact with you, but you could just tell he was just like dying because he was like he's exhausted.
Yeah.
And then I've met those people where they're like, you come up to them and they're like, hi, and then you like, okay, okay, so all right, thank you, and then like walk away. Like there's just no
Yeah.
human interaction. So
Yeah.
it really depends.
I have a fun story actually about that that happened at this con. And so I'm a huge Doctor Who fan. So I did the photo op with Matt Smith and Jodie Whittaker, the 11th and 13th Doctor. And then I did the autograph session with Jodie Whittaker. And I had done 2 years ago, my first Comic-Con actually was GalaxyCon in Columbus, Ohio, where I'm at. And she was there 2 years ago. And I was talking to her in the autograph line. I was like, yeah, I met you, 2 years ago at GalaxyCon in Columbus. And she goes, oh my gosh, I love Columbus. Like, that was such a fun con. I had the greatest time. I found this coffee shop called like Fox something. And I was like, Fox in the Snow. And she was like, yes, I love it. I was like, that is my favorite coffee shop. And this is just a really weird, cool encounter with one of my favorite actresses. It was just
awesome.
insane.
Right.
So yeah, it was definitely, you could tell that she really, really liked being there. So yeah.
There are a lot of them that really are happy to be there. Like I only have one. It wasn't a con. Comic Con was a Star Trek convention at the Javits Center. Was the guy who played the second from Picard from the Next Generation.
Oh,
That guy
right.
was a
Yeah. Jonathan Frakes. Yeah.
asshole. Like I went to shake his hand. Like I always to everybody I meet, and he didn't even bother. And
Ooh.
I'm like, what the hell? He didn't even acknowledge me.
Ooh.
I'm like, but there's some other guys, they acknowledge you, but there's a business effect. Like, here's the autograph, here's the picture, leave me alone kind of thing. But they're not being assholes, they're still being nice guys.
Yeah.
But those I have met, I say 98% of them, they're being sweethearts. You have the 2%, like CQ was to tell you, they're assholes.
Right.
But I can name names.
But I also recognize the schedule, though. You know what I mean?
I'll tell you
like
who's the worst.
The one thing I know is like in the interviews. So when we were with the Winona Earp cast, I mean, you had the main actress. She was there, and her son was there. Mm-hmm. And she said they've been up. Like you would talk about CQ, you being there like all since Wednesday. They've been there since Wednesday. They might have got literally like 1 or 2 hours of sleep a night. Mm-hmm. And the one thing I had to remind myself of, again, like I said, I was dealing more with not so much knowing the material, but just the person, right? So my thing is, it's like, yeah, there's one thing to do your craft, to act and to produce the shows and whatnot, but then the other half of that is the marketing. I mean, that's like kind of half the game right there. So, you said you have to go around, you have to make those rounds. And for the most part, you have to be happy doing it, even if you weren't there. I mean, her son was like, you could tell he was like running into the wall or whatnot. He was bored and he was just, didn't get sleep or whatnot. But everybody was like that. But again, this is what it takes, especially like I said, they go into to the audiobook platform or whatnot. Hey, this is how, ultimately how you're going to get paid. And so again, I appreciated the grind of a lot of these people. And yes, everybody there wants to shake your hand and say, hey, we're fans of the show. The Earpers is what they're called, is the fans of the show and all that. But it's like, hey, these are human beings also. And so like I said, I was just very appreciative of every one of them was courteous, and they seemed to be really excited about the opportunity being there and just the work that they were putting in to be there. So certainly I tried to be as respectful of that as possible. So if someone having a bad day, it's like, yeah, if you've been working all weekend and whatnot on any sleep, and you probably had 20 million Red Bulls and all that, yeah, I get that. But it's a grind for those guys too, just as much as it is for the reporters and everybody else going around.
I said down.
You can attest to when we was at the secret level panel. Everyone, the people there loved talking about what they were so passionate about, and at the very end, they humored me and was answering 2 questions I want to ask them. And to the point where we had like a little conversation, one of the PR people just was like, "Hey guys, it's time to leave." They stuck around longer than they had to just to answer my 2 questions.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
that was really nice.
I sat down with the franchise, which is an HBO show that just came out, which is great for anybody that's a pop culture person. It's awesome because it's a satire of these Hollywood big budget franchise movies.
Right.
So I liken it to like, it's like The Office if The Office was about making superhero movies.
Right.
And so I'm sitting down, and it was there were so many of them there. There was like 8. It was like the because it's an ensemble cast, so it was the cast, but also the creators and writers, producer, whatever. And they broke them into chunks in a round table style, so they were moving table to table. But like, you could easily tell the actors that were like, "I'm fucking over this. Like, I don't want to be here." Like, they're sitting there, and like, you'd ask a really good question, and they go, "Yeah, it was a good experience. It's great." And
Yeah.
and the one guy literally like had his head is in his hands. He's like, "Look, I'm tired. We just flew in from LA and blah blah." And then you had the other actors that are like, "Oh my god, this is gonna be great, and it's so cool." And we're so again, at the end of the day, we're all human beings.
That's right.
And there's people that do well under pressure. You could tell there's people that are just uncomfortable, that while they might be a great actor, and I'm not going to name names, but I believe this guy's a phenomenal actor, but he's uncomfortable in these social situations where now, like, when we were asking him questions, and he's like, I don't, it was just, and it's like, wow, you're on camera for a living. And you seem like it's almost that Ron Burgundy of like, if they don't give me the words, I don't know what to say. And
It could also be like at different modes, because when I work at my job, there's different modes you have to kind of put on. When, like, I'm a TA, so when I'm working with kids, I'm in a very like different frame of mind than I'm at when I'm home playing video games and getting writing done.
Right.
Like, you have to have different frame of mindsets when you're doing different jobs. And even though there's a camera in front of you, it's in the end of the day, it's a crew and a camera. It's a camera person, a crew, and probably a bunch of other people. You're not, even though you're making your craft for millions of people, you're not seeing the millions of people while you're acting. You're seeing like a couple. You're seeing like your team. I imagine, like, when you're talking to press and fans, something clicks in your mind, like, "Oh, wait a minute, the work I did, they saw it." So you kind of have a million thoughts racing in your mind, like, "Oh, maybe they're gonna criticize me here, or maybe they want to say I did a good job here." Everyone functions differently under that kind of environment.
Yeah. And I think too, just some people are of the mindset like, "Hey, I'm an actor. I'm paid to do this job." Like, but they don't consider themselves like salesmen, right? They don't want to, like, I know these guys, they're like, "I'm fine being on a film set from 5:30 in the morning till 10 o'clock at night. No problem." But they don't want to do a single interview about it because like, that's like, they don't feel like that's their job.
Absolutely.
Right? There's
and that's in a lot of, that's in if anybody who's had like a small business, or like you try to do a small business out of a passion, like, like I know early on I did graphics, desktop publishing. I had one of the early Mac computers back in the day, and I was, trying to make a living through that and whatnot. And yeah, but when you try to go to a business and you got to sell, and you got to market, and you got to go to local business meetings and whatnot to get your name out there. Like I said, half of it, and I'm always thinking about my post work life. And, I was thought about, maybe I might want to open up like a personal training store because I'm a personal trainer. So maybe I might want to do something like that. But it's like, you got to come in. Obviously, you got to have the numbers. You got to make the chambers of commerce. You got to get your name out there if you want a steady stream of clients coming in. And that's like the grind that can burn a lot of people out. Yeah, I love training people. I love the one-on-one. I like seeing people improve and all that. Do I want to do this 16 hours a day? Because if you're a personal trainer, that's 6 in the morning. Your first client's at 6. Your last client's at 9, 6 days a week. So
look at what we're doing here. Like, we could sit here and talk all day. I'm sure we're all comfortable talking nerdy stuff, But then it's like, well, now you have to go out and market it. You have to go publicize it. You have to go
Yeah.
promote it. And you're like, oh, I don't want to do that. I
Exactly.
don't.
Me and you were actually talking about this a few days ago after the con. Like my goal was I want to build a network, and I mean, one day hopefully all of us can get paid through this to go to cons and all this stuff. And he keep put me literally. He checked me in reality, like, dude, when you have to go to a work con, when you have to get paid for it, it's a different mindset, a different one.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't think of that actually.
Yeah.
And we have to keep thinking of those guys who are there, like Vader's Vault or comic whatever, or the guys I bought my shirts from, or the autographs. They're doing it for a living there. That's what they do. So they're 3-4 days, Thursday, Saturday into Sunday. They're burned out. Like the last thing you want to say is, give me one more autograph as I'm jumping on this goddamn fucking window. They're probably thinking.
You also got to keep in mind that the people like that are running the booths. They got to take it down. They got to pack up. They got to pack up whatever they don't sell. I imagine like that's
It's a lot.
Let me ask you, so you guys have had more experience than me. So do you find yourselves being able to get better deals? Like, so that Sunday 5 o'clock, like just as they're about to break it down, and you can go in there. It's like, hey,
good.
you can.
He's a good
you can get some stuff. Hey, because they don't want to take any of that stuff, that merge back, right? So,
I could tell you the Captain America shield. They had it. You know, this is at like the height of Captain America. Now that's made. It's not just a prop. That's made by like a machine company that they do. So it's steel. Well, no, this one was machine grade aluminum, but they did have a steel one too. So it was like 800 plus tax for the shield. And then the first day I went, oh, I like the shield. And you talk to him, whatever. He's like, yeah, no, firm price. And Friday comes, and then Saturday comes, and Sunday. I had kept going throughout the week and be like, oh, it's still here. It's still here. And they're like, yeah. And little by little, the price started coming down. By Sunday, I'd talked them down to $400.
oh wow,
You know, because I'm like, look, you guys don't want to pack this up. You don't want to ship it back. It's going to cost you money to ship it. So I was like, sell it to me.
That's what I did with shirts this
true.
year. I always buy a couple of shirts, and I kind of took your advice. I'm like, he goes, you know, if you get a couple more shirts, I can give you a discount. I'm like, well, I only have so much. I had more money on me. I just showed him the green. I go, if you will break a deal, I'll pay it right now, cash. He goes, no, it's firm. Like, I'm walking away with cash. I'm going to him like, as I'm later, I took one more. So, okay, deal. He goes to me. I'm like, what do you mean deal? Like, I'll cut you $10 off the shirts if you want them today. I'm like, here you go. Take my money now.
That's interesting because the question I had asked Peter was, are typically at these cons, like, you know, because again, you go like go to vadersvault.com or whatever, you can get stuff from there and whatnot. Are the deals better at the cons, or you know, is it kind of?
It really depends. It depends on time and season. Vader Vault this year was a good price. Last year, I went to the same booth, talked to the owner again. I go, "What's the best deal?" He goes, "800 is my last bottom dollar." He goes, "For the same one I picked this year." I go, that's too much. And I remember I actually had the conversation when we were eating lunch last year. I go, dude, that's too expensive. I can't afford it. I could afford it, but I didn't want to blow my budget out.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And when he said 300 for the same model, the V2, you know, the Jedi, whatever it's called. My mind just froze. It was like, okay, now I can pull the trigger on it. I felt more comfortable at 300 versus 800. It has everything in it, pretty much. I want it. So there are other ones out there, like Saber Theories out there, or there's so many different companies. I remember when these Sabers first came out, there were over 1,000 a working Saber. Now you can get a decent one for like 200 easily. They have dropped in price dramatically.
Yeah. And I knew I wanted to get a Neo, the Neo pick. If I'm gonna spend this kind of money, then I wanted one that had the, you know, the some of the bells and whistles on it. So not only is my first Saber, but to get a Neo Pixel as my first one, I was really you know, stoked to get one at that price.
I still need to get a Saber. I haven't got it yet. I mean, I have
every
Disney,
nerd needs
like
a Saber.
con ones, not like good con ones. So.
You know what? Even like if you shop around on cons, you can get some decent deals. You know, you just have to don't pull the trigger, talk to me, and come back around. I learned the lesson the hard way. The 800 Sabers next to me.
Like the thing I showed earlier, the Sonic thing. I got this, and I got another one. Like they're like $650 for two of them. and I think the price in total was like 130. I got both of them, and he cut me a deal for 120.
Nice.
So I got two of them.
Very cool.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, like these are all stores, they're all businesses, and they're gonna try to make the most money that they can. But yeah, like we were saying, you have to talk to them, you have to negotiate. At the end of the day, everything is negotiable. Everything is negotiable.
If you
It
sold.
depends if they're doing well and they don't need to, then whatever. But yeah, I've talked people down large amounts or group things, right? Hey, I'll buy 4 of these, but throw in a 5th one free, whatever it is. From anyway, I could talk
Also,
for months about this.
So one nice thing too that I found particularly at this con, well, other cons too, but if you somehow get an in with like somebody from a company, like to use an example from NYCC, my coworker had talked to somebody at Funko at C2E2 in Chicago, and he was like, hey, at NYCC, you should come by and do a booth tour. So we did a booth tour, and then he was like, yeah, just pick out whatever Funko you want, and I'll just get it for you. And we were like, okay. And then also I randomly got a free record with Bear McCreary's Rings of Power Season 1 soundtrack from him as well. So if you do interviews and make connections, occasionally they will also get very excited and give you things as well. So there's also
That's
that.
fair.
And I learned that from CQ too, because I remember a couple of times you said you came out with like bags and bags and bags and bags, and to the point you can't now, you don't have room in your house anymore. This stuff.
Yeah, I mean, well, everything back there that's on the floor is stuff that was given through either interviews or different booths, or I did one with so again, being in the industry, got invited to an industry party. If anybody heard of the Thrill Joy party that went on, it was crazy. I mean, not only was it on a rooftop in a New York City, hotel, it was gorgeous, food provided, drinks flowing, like there no charges, that people were getting plastered. But then at the end of it, they were giving out these limited edition things they were selling at their booths for 50, 60, $80. They were just handing them out to us. So we grabbed, a bunch, and I'm like, I always do giveaways on my show. So I'm like, that's just stuff that's going to get given away. One of the guys was like, I told him like, yeah, I'm going to give it away on the show. He goes, those things are going for like $400 or $500 online, right? And I was like, well, then somebody's going to get a really cool thing from my show. So congratulations.
I remember a couple months ago, you gave away the Foxhound autograph flag that I wanted from you so mad.
Yeah.
Like I was trying to bribe him. He wasn't even taking my bribes. I offered you like 500 for you. Nope. Somebody wanted it, right, dude?
Integrity, man. Integrity. But no, yeah, that was the Metal Gear Solid sign signed by the whole voice cast.
That is sick.
Yeah. So
awesome.
like, yeah, got a bunch of those the Thrill Joy cases that are, I mean, they're awesome. Like some of them are limited to like 3,000, 1,000, and then some of the chases that they were just handing them out.
I had no idea about any of this happening at the party stuff. Like for me personally, like I went to the convention. I was there at the convention pretty much the entire day, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and I didn't even. Me and my team, then we got emails about it, but we never even looked into like the after party stuff, because for me it's like, well, I don't drink and I'm kind of awkward, so I'm like, well, what's the point of this for me personally?
Well,
So
I will say, obviously giveaway, the swag that they give out is awesome and all that. But realistically, the best thing, and yes, if you're sober, you don't drink, you're missing out on a big part of it, because yeah, it is free drinks. But I do think it's just a really good networking opportunity. I got to link up with a bunch of my friends, like the Nerdy Vets and a bunch of other guys that were there. So it's just really good. You get to meet other people in the industry. There's celebrities walking around. Like I went to the fandom after party, and Straw Hat Goofy was there, and a bunch of other influencers. And so you just sit around and you talk industry. It's a great way to network. And yes, the giveaways are nice. And at the fandom party, they had a free claw machine. So you could just play this claw machine and win like little collectibles.
That's
That's
So
cool.
I got like a Mickey Mouse
Yeah.
thing, random thing.
How,
But yeah,
how
From
do you
talking
get?
to you, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Elizabeth. Go first. Go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna ask, like, how do you get invitations to some of these? Because, like, I got like one or two. I only went to one after party, and it was through the OneRing.net. I'm a huge Lord of the Rings nerd. It's fine. Um, and that was a lot of fun. But like, how do you get invitations to after parties at big cons? Because I've just like
You get
exactly
emails, I
through my
think, and you respond back to them. I mean, I my outlet, like once I got my press pass approved, I got a ton of press emails, and I forwarded them to the rest of my team, and we didn't really look into it, but I assume you apply to the sender and you kind of go from there. But these guys probably know more than I do.
yeah. I mean, a lot of it comes from. So for those that don't know, that may be listening, don't know, you apply for a press credentials for a con, and every con's run differently. But for something like New York Con, when you're approved, you're basically put on a distribution list. And I hate to say it, but like what you say in your application matters, because
okay.
you will get, I don't want to say pigeonholed, but you'll get kind of like typecast almost, where all of the companies that pay New York to say, hey, we want to be at your event, they'll say, hey, do you want a list of all of the media that's going to be attending? And they go, yes. And then so they get a spreadsheet of all the media that's attending, but it'll also be organized by like, what's your reach, what's your like your size, what type of press, right? Is it media? Is it television? Is it news? Is it print? Is it whatever? And so then those companies can really filter that list and say, I want to invite only camera media, or I want to invite only print media. And so they can, some of them will just blast every reply all and blast out, and it goes to everybody. But some of them are very picky. So for instance, like I got invited to pretty much everything that was there, but not everything, because I have friends of mine who got invited to Hasbro headquarters, and they
Oh
had
my
breakfast with the corporate guys, and so they got like a private demonstration and giveaway stuff, and
God.
had breakfast with those guys.
I went to the
Not
Hasbro
even a
panel.
fan in
I had
that.
no idea. One of my online buddies who's really into like, not well, the editor I was with, he's really into the figures. We walked out that Hasbro panel like, God, this is so cool. And he told me about like the breakfast thing, and
Mhm.
he didn't go to it, but he said like, yeah, this happened. I'm like, wow, that's so cool.
Yeah, yep. So
Hey, let me ask you guys. As far as ranking the cons, like this is my first, so obviously it's the biggest, it's the best I've ever been to. Right now, I've always heard about San Diego. So, is San Diego considered like the mother, like the Super Bowl of cons?
it's the
And
Mecca.
then
It's
it's
the
the
Mecca. It's
Mecca
the
of
Holy
cons.
Land.
Really,
It's
humongous.
Nerdvana. It's
Like I was talking
Nerdvana.
to, I think I was talking 2 days ago to you through text, and I go, we were talking about Comic Con. Same thing. I asked him, do you know how much the tickets go for? He has no idea. I go like, most
Crazy.
likely I can't afford them because they're probably like over $100 easily, because everybody wants to go to that one, and it's one of the biggest. I'm not sure how it's like blocks. I think it's the con is. It's humongous. You cannot
Yeah,
walk in
it's
one day.
It like
massive.
What you do?
it spans several blocks, and it's almost like a lottery to even try to get tickets for it. And they literally started, I think, today or yesterday with that, which is
And it's
why
not until end of July next
because
year.
yeah, it's I really want to, but I'm trying to get a press pass. Our magazine has been really struggling trying to get a press pass for San Diego because they are not very responsive when it comes to press passes,
They are
unfortunately.
not. They are not.
Just in case anybody gets press passes, they have room for a Greek Ghost of Sparta in a suitcase. I can lose some weight till then. I trust me, I can make
I keep you updated.
arrangements to fit me in the suitcase.
Nah,
I
just
keep
say that if you don't get invited, you'll enter your Spartan Rage and just use your Blades of Chaos, just cut through everything.
But is
Well-
it fair to say that the New York Comic Con is maybe the largest on the East Coast, or are there?
Oh,
big
yeah.
ones
Probably
that's
second
there?
largest
sure.
in America,
Yeah.
right? CQ.
Second largest con in the country. Yeah.
Okay,
Behind
okay,
San
so
Diego, for sure.
I will
Gotcha.
say this in comparison to Anime Expo, because I went to that too, and it was in the same building. Comic Con was much better organized, and it was a lot like, how do I put this? It definitely felt a little bit more like comfortable, because like, if you, as you guys probably noticed, when we was all walking, God knows how long throughout the area, most of the floors were carpeted, so it was very comfortable walking
Yeah.
to and from places.
That's
The
yeah.
lines were very organized. You had a lot of bigger companies. Like, yeah, the SpongeBob booth was massive. You had the Turtles booth was massive. Like,
Funko, Thrilljoy, they were all huge. Yeah.
Even the Gundam ones, I go to one every year, and this is the biggest that I've seen ever since I started going to the Comic Con. They're getting bigger and bigger. Even Dragon Ball, the Dragon Ball. I looked at Paul. I'll get him. I go.
That
I hope
one
he
was
doesn't fart on us right now.
I got stuck in the middle of that booth. I was trying to go through, and I was like, I'm stuck, and I don't know how
Right.
to get out.
did you try to play the Dragon Ball game?
No, I
That
was
was-
just trying to go through the booth. I wasn't gonna play the game, but maybe I should have just played the game to get through.
If you went to the booth, hold on, because this is something that you guys will figure out. If you go to these conventions, you get these things.
Yeah. Lanyards. Yeah.
All the lanyards.
And you get this if you went to the Dragon Ball booth and played the game.
Oh
Yeah.
wow.
So that's where those were coming from.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
Now, are you?
I would say what was an eye waker for me being part of the press. It was my first one being part of the press. Is you really don't have time to walk the floor as much as you think you do.
No,
No.
no.
You're go, and we're as much as I want to join the floor, get my autographs, get my shirts, whatever I want to buy, all that stuff. You have minimum time, and when I finally linked up with you, CQ, and the guys, and he goes, I am burned out. I'm going home. I'm on my train. Fuck this. I'm out of here. Kind of thing.
Yeah.
It was difficult for me because for my outlet, we from the vibe I got, we specifically went to cover the TMNT game, and the secret level panel thing. Outside of that, whatever else we was able to cover on the show floor, we was able to cover. So that included the Little Nightmares Free, Mecha Break, and I'm trying to Mecha and Monster Hunter. And like I mentioned earlier, Monster Hunter was something that me and another editor was pushing for, because we know Monster Hunter is a massive franchise, and if you guys passed by that booth, the line was huge.
Yep.
Yeah.
Dude,
Yeah.
I had a couple. A friend of mine asked me, "Can you get something for my brother for Comic Con?" Like, well, I want the pops. I'm going, yeah, good luck. The line's out of the ass. And
Well,
then-
you have to have like reservations, and they
You
go.
have to have
so-
reservations.
Yes.
Yep.
Like
And
it's
this
insane.
year, sorry, I didn't mean to step over you. This year too, not only was there supposed you had to have reservations, the first 2 days the whole system went down, and it was a disaster. People were losing their fucking minds because the reservations meant nothing. They meant nothing those first 2 days because the systems weren't working. But I will say, yeah, to your point, Pete, that yes, what I've noticed over the years is the more work I've done with the press, the less of the con I really got to experience, because you're running from one panel to an interview thing to a meeting to and then especially when you have, like, we had things scheduled, there were what do they call them, activations outside the con. So there were multiple things happening outside the con that now we're like, okay, we had to leave the building and get across wherever to get to these things. So yeah, the less you actually spend doing at the convention and seeing, and maybe it was just me being foolhardy, but this year I was like, you know what, we're gonna cover as much as we fit. We were double and triple booked at certain times, as you guys saw, you filled in on a couple of them. That's why by day 3 I was like, I'm fucking done. I'm so done.
When
It was crazy.
originally on the phone, like, dude, I kind of screwed myself because I scheduled to leave early. Now I have other things booked. Like, can I step in? He goes, yeah, thank you. Like and like I was more nervous
yeah. You say thank you. I was like I'm rolling with you, so I'm like, yeah. I guess we're doing this thing, right?
Yeah, I kind of threw
But
you in
again,
the
it
deep end.
wasn't until I got up to the press area. You go in. Now, and I'm trying to play it all cool, right? So, okay, yes, I'm with WTF Nation Radio, and I said, okay, yeah, just get you in or whatever. And it's like, okay, fine, and I see, stuff. So I'm, like I said, it's like building up. So when I tell you, like, I had no idea what I was stepping into. Like I said, I think I used every experience that I had, and like I said, I just try to keep it basic. But yeah, it was.
No, same though. Like the room, like I was so glad, honestly, like Peter and Robert, to talk to you guys, because I walked into that secret level panel interview thing, and I was like, I'm so out of my depth here. I am not used to this. Like, I'm used to talking to independent game designers. I am not used to talking to like Prime Video execs.
Oh,
like,
trust me, I felt the same way.
Would you be surprised? That was the first like proper interview thing I did completely by myself.
Well, you did. I mean, I think we all did a great job, but like, I walked in there, I was like, oh, I feel so out of place.
Oh yeah,
I felt the same way. No, because
I was
out of my lane. When you were there, I sat there. Then Robert came in. They moved us closer and closer. And then I see the NBC guy come in and put his mic down. I'm like,
Yeah.
Oh fuck me! I am going to embarrass.
Yeah, I was just in my mind. I was playing. I was playing in my mind. It's like somebody. All right, I'm going to ask the wrong question, and then everyone's going to look at me like he's not one of us.
Well, they all
he's not like us. Get him
in,
like come at the security and take me out. It's like
they only gave us a couple of minutes too. To be fair,
yeah.
too.
The worst part for me when we went to check in, my name wasn't even on the list. Even Paul's.
Yeah, it was.
You're not on the list.
We had to do CQ's name.
I went like, is it on Michael so and so? He goes, yeah. How do you know him? I'm like, I work for him. Oh, okay. You're good. I'm like, oh, that was easy enough.
Yeah.
I'm like, I thought I had to tackle this lady down. I'm like, yo, I'm going in there.
Well, my pen name is different from like my legal name. And so I gave them my legal name and they're like, it's not on here. And I was like, you have my pen name? I was like, that's odd because that is not what I signed up to the convention for.
Right.
So I was like, how did that name get on there?
Originally,
your name precedes you.
Originally, it was me and one of the people on the podcast that was supposed to go to the secret level panel, but complications came up and I was the only one for my outlet present. So things just work out how they work out sometimes.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. That's true. Hey, CQ, you would talk about just the parties or whatnot. Now I know I did hear that there is a singles mingle type of event, kind of like a speed dating. I'm trying to hook you up, man. So I understand that there's an event for for folks because I'm telling them it's like you need, this is your world, right? This is your environment. What better place to be in if you're gonna meet somebody? Because like I said, my wife, God bless. I mean, she has no interest in this stuff whatsoever. It's like she would have had an awful time if she had to spend the whole day. One, she's got plantar, so she's like, I'm gonna be on my feet all day. And I'm tired, and yes, I'm seeing half naked ladies. That was the other thing. I'm seeing ladies with their booty cheeks out, literally like looking like strippers and all that kind of stuff.
My favorite. Hang up, before you go ahead. My favorite one of him trying to get an autograph. Her ski was, I couldn't get his autograph. Like, why? Every picture has an autograph. His stink face. I'm like, so you sure got the pictures?
No, because all his pictures were like stink faces. Like, yeah, I don't need that. I'll just take a picture with him. And that was good because my daughter, she loves the Usos. So it's like, look, I'm taking a picture with your dad. It's like, it got that dad energy and everything. So it was worth it just to get there.
Shaw cosplayers. There was a family. That's something I really liked about Comic-Con, about the convention. Right. There are families with their kids there. They had like a mom, dad, and a little kid.
Oh, absolutely.
Baby Shark. That was so cute.
Let me ask you guys a question. I know Paul's a father and you yourself CQ. Robert, are you a father in chance?
No, I'm not.
Your mother in chance? You have kids?
No,
So my question is, do you guys feel maybe as fathers, some of these kids are too young to be out of cons? Maybe they have to be a little older because I saw some even in
Well, it's
strollers.
interesting. I didn't notice a lot of kids. I saw, obviously you had kids in strollers. I saw some, but it wasn't like it was like a majority. It wasn't like going to Disneyland, you know what I mean? Or Disney World.
Right. Yeah.
So it was majority adults, at least teenagers and up. Yeah, you had a few kids there. Like I said, the only thing I probably wasn't expecting was, again, there were some ladies. Again, not judging anything. I'm just saying, I knew from Pete
Just
from last
facts.
year because he
Just
took some
facts.
pictures with some of them. So I knew, and I told him, I said, all right, look, nope, I'm not taking any pictures with my wife. She ain't with that. That's a sister, and she ain't going for that. So I told, but outside of that, I think that, I again, you got to be a parent at the end of the day. You know what I mean? And with a lot of this stuff that you see, whether your kids watch wrestling or whatever, you got to be a parent. Yeah, and there's certain things that, look, would I want my daughters walking around at Comic-Con and some of that stuff that they were wearing? And again, my youngest is 21. So I'm still kind of like, I still got that dad thing going on. It's like, if I catch you at a con with that picture, I'm like, I'm coming at you. So there's part of that. But again, I'm like, look, let people be. This is an environment, you're going to see everything here. And so to me, it's just like going to Vegas. It's like, yeah, not everything, I love Vegas. Do I like everything about Vegas? No, not necessarily. So I think that just as as far as the kids, definitely 12 and up, I don't see an issue with it. And it wasn't like every lady there was like scans for the cloud, but there were definitely some who were like, whoa, this is am I in a strip club or am I in a in a comic convention?
You gotta keep in mind, like a lot of anime, like some of the female characters are just designed like that, and the cosplayers are trying to be
So
authentic.
Bo was talking about last year. I took a picture with a cosplay. She was dressed as Mrs. Rabbit.
Roger Rabbit's what? Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, and
Jessica.
she wasn't really dressed naked. She has big boobs. That's pretty much it.
Now I'm saying you had some ladies who were like the booty cheeks were out. I mean, this was
Oh,
like
you talking about the Mortal Kombat?
they didn't have
Yeah,
they didn't have the sheer stuff on. It was just like, no, I'm seeing booty cheeks at this thing again. That's hey, I got no objection in and of
No,
itself.
I totally
But
understand.
it was just definitely there. Yeah.
And not, I do understand your wife would probably decapitate your,
She's like,
on
you
it.
take a snap from even near. It's like, all right, keep it moving.
Yeah, I don't think you were survived the night, but
No.
That's your marriage. I'm not gonna judge.
There you go.
But what I'm saying, like, I know, it's a picture. I don't see anything wrong with it personally, but I do understand how they sees it through some people. Like, oh no, that's not okay. Like, CQ, how's your wife taking you? Be taking pictures or something like that? Is she gonna? Because I know your wife pretty well, so.
Her one comment, and she says this to everybody. She says this in front of anybody. She'll say, just don't talk to any ugly ones. That's her, just don't take pictures with ugly ones. And, but no, we get that. Well, first of all, let me just say, it's not really what I'm there for.
Yeah.
Totally fine if people want to, because people go to cosplay and we talked about this, people want you to take pictures. Obviously, always get consent. Can I get a picture with you? Right? If they say no, you respect it, all that stuff. Yes. But like the point, there literally is no point to go to a convention in costume unless you want people to take pictures with you. That's the only, it benefits. If I went in a costume and I was like, no, thanks. I'm just here to go shopping in my full Deadpool, with katanas and the whole. But
a lot of Deadpools and Wolverines there.
That was that. I was about to say
pictures.
that. That was probably the number one most copied
Yes.
cosplay
It's big
there
this
was
year.
the Deadpool.
But
That movie
and
was awesome.
so the idea is, they want you to take pictures with them. That's they've put their heart and love and soul and passion into the way they look, and they want pictures. I'm not there to take pictures of people in costumes.
Mhm.
There was a time when I was early in coverage stuff, and I didn't have the connections that I do now, and so my coverage was like, oh, look at all the cool costumes and look at all the cool booths, and my idea was like, I'm gonna experience it and show you how I experienced it since you can't experience it, kind of a thing. But yeah, that's not really my what I do anymore. So yeah, for me to, I can honestly not tell you the last time I took a picture with someone in like a cosplay that wasn't like an industry thing.
Right.
So yeah, so then to answer your question, like that never really becomes an issue with me and my wife because I don't really do that.
One thing I did realize the last 2 years was when I was taking a picture with Mrs. Marvel's one of cosplay, or with the guy who's in the Air Force who does the Army Man. They want to put their hand back on my back. Like they came up to me, like, taking a picture, like, do you mind if I put my hand on your back? Like, no, I didn't think anything of it. And same thing this year. Like I was taking a picture with the one of the Pink Rangers. She goes, "Oh, don't be shy. Put your hand around me." I'm like, "Oh, okay." I always put my hands in front of me because I don't want to be attacked by security all of a sudden because thinking I'm putting my hands somewhere too low or too high. I mean, that's what I learned. Always put your hands in front of you. You're safe like that. And she came on like, "Yo, you don't have to, put like, this is a picture. Come on, get into it." I'm like, "Oh, okay." And then she goes like, "Oh no, you're not done yet." I'm like, "What do you mean?" She comes and gives me this bear hug, or like, her, like, "Oh wow, this is the first hug I got from a celebrity." I was like, "Oh, this actually feels nice." And she, some of them are like, "Oh, really cool." But again, I always recommend anybody. I think you back me up on CQ. If you put your hands in front of you, you're safe. You're not worried to be attacked by security or the state troopers there.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, yeah, I think a couple cons ago, I ended up bumping into Rosario Dawson, who I kind of have a history with. I've met her at a couple things outside of conventions, and we hit it off, and I was like, "Hey, look, I have this picture of us like from like 10 years ago," and she looked, and she, "Oh my God, look, we look so good, we look so young," and I was like, "Hey, can we take a picture?" She's like, "Yeah, of course." And like I'm always very respectful, I put my hands out in front and just like you said, and like she like just grabbed me and like pulled me in, and so like I think if you're respectful, that most people, it's a comfort thing. It's a comfort thing. If they have that comfort with you, then they'll feel free to be silly or get up close or whatever.
I'm gonna back you up on that 100% because when I re-met one of the original, not the original, the second Yellow Ranger from Maya Morphin, I met her 3 or 4 times now, and I was joking around with her. I go like, every time I see you, you always have public personality. He goes, "You look familiar." I go like, we met our first time in Allentown. I go to her like, I'm like, "Yeah, you probably remember. I have a weird Greek name. I remember you." She goes, "Oh, okay." She goes, she gives me like jumps up, like gives me a hug, like, "Come here." I'm like, "Oh, okay." Like that to me, that's odd because I'm not used to that celebrities hugging me.
Yeah.
To me, they're on a pedestal. But I'm starting to learn as more and more cons I go. They're just like a regular Joe like me and you. I don't get as nervous anymore to talk to these guys. I'm more comfortable. The more I talk to them, the more I go to these. Because the first con, it was in Allentown. I met the original Red Ranger. I was shaking like a leaf, like just like that, trying, and I was like trying to talk to him, like, "Oh," and he was just like, he goes, "Dude, calm down. I'm just a human being like you." And we just having a conversation. After I get through the jitters, it was like the greatest conversation I ever had. Same thing when I met J. David Frank. I was shaking like a leaf, and like shaking up and down, like, "Calm down, take a deep breath." But again, that was my first New York Comic Con, so it was like excitement overload kind of thing, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, I think you're definitely playing it safe with the, like saying that, again, let the woman take the lead in that situation and whatnot. So I think you're smart in doing that. But I really appreciate those who, and I think I was sharing with you on the way over, how a lot of times you see like these actors and actresses, it's like the stuff that they're most known for, they hate. It's just that thing that they're known for is popular and it made the money. But I remember there was this guy who did this song. I think it was "Feeling Good." It was this horn player from like the 70s or something like that. And he was asked one time, he's like, "Don't you get tired of people always ask you to play that song?" And his attitude was like, "Look, that song paid for my kids' college education. It paid for my house." So people who can be humble about, like, look, people are here. The fact that people are even paying attention to us is an honor in and of itself. So I love those who could be, have that level of humility to say that, hey, I'm here, doing something that I love doing or whatever, and people appreciate it. And yes, I might have done other things that might personally I might think were better. Like I was a better actor in this versus that. But if this is paying the bills or whatever, then, and this is what they want me here for, then hey, let's go. So I just appreciate people who have that kind of attitude, because again, you have a you're getting a holistic perspective to this. Sometimes it's not up to you what you may think is a hit, people hate, and then the thing that you hated the most is like, hey, y'all like that? Like, okay. And you
And
just
that's
go
why
with
I
it.
was talking to the Yellow Ranger. She goes, like, we are a unique group as a Power Rangers actors because there's only so many of us. So we have to give so much back to you guys because it wasn't for you guys, we wouldn't be where we're at.
Yeah.
You make a living for me. If I wasn't going to these cons, I could not make a living. She goes to me. I'm like, wow, she actually understand that. But not a lot of them understand that. Like I have to do this because I have to do this. So, but she knows that's how she pays her kids or whatever her lifestyle is.
Well,
I
yeah.
give her credit for that.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, not every single actor or actress in Hollywood, especially like voice actors or anything like that, like they're not making the big bucks. There are very few people in Hollywood who are actually making enough money to where they're like, yeah, we don't have to do all of this extra stuff because we're making enough money. So it's like, and going back to a callback, like I feel like at least a lot of people who do come to cons because they want to meet fans, at least for the most part, I feel like.
And to kind of point about voice actors and just voice actors, animators, etc., not being paid enough. That's why that's why there's such a big fight against AI. Like that's taking.
Don't get me started on that topic.
That's a whole. That's a whole rabbit hole we can go down. But I can say too, I do a lot of interviews in my show, and we usually talk privately before we go live and everything. And I'll always say like, hey man, is there anything like you don't want to talk about? Like, is there anything you're sick of talking about? Like we can just skip it, no matter how well known you are for that thing. And I would not even say 9 times out of 10, 99 times out of 100, they're like, no, like let's talk about whatever. And if you want to talk about the most popular thing, they're like you were saying, Paul, that's what gets me paid, and that's what people know me for. Then that's fine. We can absolutely do that. And usually when it's like I don't want to talk about something, it's something either political or it might be, I know there's a couple times where there was like contractual disputes or lawsuits pending or things like that where they're like, let's not talk about that. I'm like, yeah, okay, no problem. But no, like they love talking about their work. They're, especially if it's something that people connected with, then yeah, they really want to talk about it. And the longer they talk about it, the more relevant they stay. So it's important for them.
Yeah,
because I took your advice, like you said. You never know. Asked who you said no. So I asked Mick Foley, Paul there, if he come to the show. He was saying the funny part about that conversation goes, yes, I'll do it, but only reason I'm saying yes because the doctor, but I can't commit to anything right now because I'm over war. I'm like, so the answer is no. I went to myself. He could have just went to no, but he didn't want to say no. He can say in his face. He felt so bad saying no. But at least he was honest. He couldn't do it. And I respect that, actually.
Yeah. One thing I noticed in the Comic-Con, and it's very because my daughter and I, we went last year. We went to a Friday Night SmackDown at the Garden. And I noticed it was like a similar vibe there in terms of, one, the diversity of people. I mean, every stripe, every person, it's like the United Nations there, plus. I mean, it was like there. And I encountered that same vibe when I was at Comic-Con. Like it literally draws everybody, business, doctors, lawyers, attorneys, or what. It's like that time where you can kind of let your guard down and it's cool to be geek. I mean, you might have to button it up in your professional life, but here it's almost you can kind of let your hair down. And the thing so that was one thing I got with. There's a similar vibe, but mostly about like the crossover. Like it seems like a lot of fans of a lot of these properties are also like wrestling fans, and they're also gaming fans. And so, do you find yourself in like like you limited? Like I think probably out of everyone in the panel, I'm probably the most limited when it comes to like all these. Like I never saw Dragon Ball Z. It was like as big as that display was there. It's like I did a little bit of Pokemon, when my kids were younger, but that was it. So do you think sometimes it's like, do you have to be into everything, or like it's like, look, I'm into this, I'm into that, and I can kind of do the rest, which will probably make your experience at Comic-Con a little bit better because you don't feel you have to see everything. But if you're into everything, how do you manage that?
And I think,
Okay.
sorry, I cut somebody off.
No, you're good. Go ahead, Robert. I'm still formulating.
Okay. So basically, like for me, my anime history. I grew up with Pokemon. I watched Dragon Ball Z Kai on Nicktoons. I'm very familiar with Yu-Gi-Oh, but like I did not, and I watched a fair amount of Naruto, both the original and Shippuden, but I did not watch the sequel series of Naruto's Kid. I have zero experience with One Piece, like so. And I'd say for the odd thing here and there, I don't really watch a lot of recent anime, but for video games, I the rest of the Lords of Gaming staff kind of attest to this. I have my finger on the pulse of like a lot of gaming news, and I always I know what's going on in the industry.
Right.
And in regards to like video games, like you probably saw from like I'm a huge Sonic fan, and if you gave me the floor to talk about that franchise, I wouldn't shut up about it because like I literally wrote a review for one of the latest games that came out recently, and that's almost 4,000 words. So
we have
like
someone in our magazine who is a huge Sonic fan, and definitely anytime there's Sonic news, Connor's like, "Dude, I want to write this." I'm like, "Okay."
I'm willing to bet money right now that he probably played Sonic X Shadow Generations and loved every goddamn second of that game, like I do.
So Robert, so you know, it's a show coming up on the channel very soon on a Saturday hangout. Sonic versus Mario. So you may have to come on.
See, that's the thing. Say a lot of times in these spaces, it's like, you know, in my community, we talk about your black card, right? It's like, you know, if you weren't up on this or that or whatever, we're taking away your black card. Sometimes I think people look to take away my geek card because, like, Peter will ask me about, okay, we're gonna do this on the grid. I never saw it, and Peter will give me that. You know, how Peter does that look like.
Yeah.
Really, dude? Really? You haven't?
Yeah, like
I haven't seen it.
My anime. Go ahead.
That happen. Yeah, I've definitely had that happen to me. Excuse me. Because I was a film major in college, and I feel like there were quite a few films that I still haven't even seen. That people are like, "Why have you not seen this? It's a classic." Never. I just haven't gotten around to it. Or it's just not my thing, you know.
Right.
But you know, to answer your question initially, Culture Slate, we write about almost any single thing that you could think of for pop culture, gaming, all of that. You know, if somebody's interested in it, we write about it. You know, if there's news, we write about it. I mean, there's, you know, stuff, not always, we don't cover absolutely everything, but like, you know, it's there. And as managing editor, I kind of have to like know, oh yes, this is going to be big news, even if I don't know like the franchise or whatever.
Right.
And so that can be, you know, I was thinking about it in terms of, you know, the big cons that I would really love to try to get more people from our outlet to be able to go, because I was getting a ton of press releases for stuff from like horror games and stuff, and I'm like, that is not me. Like, I am not a horror fan. Like, I could interview these people, but I would have no idea what to say because that's just not what I do.
Little Nightmares? Is that the game that you was referring to? Because that was one of the games playable at Comic-Con.
It might have been. I got a lot of like horror press release stuff, and I was like, I know we have several writers who would be perfect for this, you know. So I think that, you know, for me, I do have my hand in several fandoms that I really like Lord of the Rings and Star Wars, but you know, I don't feel like you necessarily have to like everything, but I think if you have the capability to have multiple people to go to cons, that can also really help like your outlet.
You have to cover, you
can cover more things, you know. I feel like for me, this con, going back to, I think it was something that CQ was talking about earlier, I was actually able to enjoy this con more because a lot of the stuff that we were getting to report on was not stuff that like me or my coworker knows anything about. So we were like, we can't really do much with these press releases.
Right.
So then we were able to actually enjoy the con a little bit more. But that's where I was like, if I can get more people to come, this might be better. So yeah, you know.
And to chime in a bit, because I was out of my field on Monster Hunter. I don't play that series usually. I know very little about it, save for a close online friend who really loves the franchise. So when we saw that booth, originally we was going to try to talk to a developer there. There was no developer we couldn't get an interview with them. So, but the game was playable, and we run a gaming website, and one of the editors, Gene, was like, Rob, you really should look. You should really just put. Even if you only played a game, you can do it. You can write about it. So I wrote about the game, and I ended up not only playing the game and quite enjoying it to my surprise, but we ended up going to the panel using our press pass like an hour or two later, and we have a good article covering like all the latest information about a game. It's probably going to be the biggest game of next year. And that was something because I was out of my comfort zone covering that. So sometimes you just gotta just jump into something you're unfamiliar with, and just put your earnestness into it. So even if you don't fully understand something, that's gonna come across in your article or your interview or your video. Right. So people will appreciate that, and the people who are making the thing will probably appreciate it too, because you're giving that thing a chance. You know nothing about it.
Right. I actually did run across that at NYCC this year, because I did answer back one of them, and I was like, well, I know this would be really good for the magazine because it's something that we really cover, but I don't really know very much about it. Is that okay? And they were like, oh yeah, 100%. Like, let's still set up this interview. And I was like, okay, cool. So yeah, like definitely, you know, giving it a chance. I think that's good.
So one thing about me, and like CQ knows about this, and Paul, is I tap my hands a little bit at everything. And like, I'm a Star Wars fan. I have a Star Wars tattoo. Let's put it this way: how big a Star Wars fan I am, and 2 lightsabers makes me a pretty good Star Wars guy. Assassin's Creed, forget it. If you talk about Assassin's Creed, I can sit there for hours.
I imagine Knife for Shadows next year.
I came this close, dude, buying the Assassin's Creed statue, the big one they were displaying for $300. Like,
nice.
I only reason I didn't take it. I had the money. I don't want to carry that shit back to the fucking car. That's the reason I didn't want to take that damn thing. It was heavy.
Was it Ezio or one of the other assassins?
Ezio. Yeah, remember that one you sent me, CQ, the picture of it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, nice. That thing was heavy as hell. Like, I asked him, like, can I let you see how heavy this is? Because I'm gonna carry the car. Like, just go ahead. I picked it up, like, okay, never mind. There's a little bit too heavy for me to carry back to the car. But I dab my hand a little with everything. So most people who like go, because you know, anime. I knew anime before it was anime back in Greece. I used to watch it in Greece, and people are like, "How do you watch this stuff in Greece?" Simple. I just watched it. There was airing. Like Dragon Ball was aired in Greece before it was even here. The first thing I ever watched was Saber Riders and Star Sheriffs, and what's the other one? Techno Man. And people look at me like, "What is that?" Like, look it up. And like, and there's some great series out there, but there's some horrible series too. Like a lot of people like One Piece. I'm not a fan of One Piece, to be honest with you guys. It's good, but it's not my cup of tea. There's nothing wrong with that either. So at Comic-Con, you can experience different stuff too. Even new shows you can discover there. I discovered a couple new shows there at Comic-Con.
Right. But I'm saying, like, I could probably go to Comic-Con again, and like, unless I got the time to like really flesh it out, I could probably see about 20% of what's there, and like, I'm good. Like, if I see some WWE there, if I see some Star Wars, Star Trek there, if I see some Godzilla there, or whatever, like that, like I said, that's kind of like my sort of my happy place. Everything else would be exploratory, and I may look into this or that or whatever and see like what this is. But you definitely felt, like I said, a little bit overwhelmed to say, look, I felt like to a degree like I should kind of know, especially with the big Dragon Ball. The what's the character's name in
Goku.
the big
Goku. Yeah.
Goku. Like, I should know who this person is, and like I had no idea,
That
and
is
I'm like,
literally it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I know nothing about Dragon Ball.
Guys, the convention is it's like, imagine like it's like Target, right? You know, you go to Target, there might be 2 or 3 things that you're there for. You're not there to get diapers or you know, milk, but you're there for. And so the convention, it has everything for everyone.
Yeah.
But what you're actually there for, I'm a huge nerd. My hands are in so many pockets.
Yeah.
But I'm not a Doctor Who guy. I'm not a Star Trek guy. You know, so there are plenty of fandoms that I'm not a part of.
You're not a Star Trek guy. What?
I'm not a Star Trek guy.
Get him out of the show. Get him off.
You know, and I do like some of the animes, but not all of them.
I guess you gotta boot me too. I'm very. I'm sorry.
I'm actually one of the few people who like Star Trek and Star Wars. Is usually don't get along well.
I never understood that beef because I mean those are like 2 separate genres.
Yeah,
it's like one is science opera and one science fiction. I never got the beef.
You know what's on my list, and you guys are gonna tell me it'd be pretty cool to go to one. Is a Star Wars convention. I know they have them. I just haven't tracked one down.
The next one is in Tokyo next year.
Yeah, Star Wars Celebration.
Star Wars Celebration. I'm hoping it'll come back to Anaheim, California after that, because as much as I'd like to go to Tokyo, I don't have the money right now.
Yeah.
But because our magazine is Star Wars outlet, like we cover Celebration, like 100%. That is like our big time to cover. So I'm hoping one day to actually get to go.
I'm having a show very soon. I'll have you come back on. If Anakin was the real chosen one, I think you'll be a perfect guest for that show.
Okay.
If you ever go to Tokyo, you gotta go to the Nintendo Museum while you're there.
Yeah,
you want to go to the Dragon Ball Z? No, the Gundam.
You're gonna have split time. See, you might not, because you're gonna spend a whole day in one place. I mean, it's gonna be.
And the Nintendo Museum is amazing. Like they have giant controllers, and you have to work together with somebody to use a giant N64 controller to play Mario 64, or like play like one of the pilot.
You know that'd be funny. CQ's gonna kick out of this. But, I can see a couple of you guys, you know, trying to do that. You and King trying to hit the controller. That you guys be windy before that. No offense. But I'm actually very surprised Javits Center doesn't have a Star Wars convention. I know they do a Star Trek, but they don't have a Star Wars. I'm very surprised they don't do one. To be honest.
And for you guys who've been going there for it, like I said, I might have been to the Javits maybe 10 years ago. I don't know. It looked like it was twice the size as I remember it. I don't know. Have they expanded?
It's massive, man. It's massive.
I don't remember it being that. I remember I went a couple times in the 90s to some auto shows and whatnot. But I'm there. I'm like, it's like they built, like, I didn't know they had 4 floors of.
I didn't know about the 4th floor, man. When I went to Anime Expo, I had no idea about there being a 4th floor. I didn't know about that. Like that. So it's crazy.
It has been expanded upon, but also just depending on what convention you're there, there's just certain stuff that's closed off.
Yeah.
So like if you go to the Auto Expo, they're only using the main floor. They're not using any of the other things. So depending on what you're there for, it might seem smaller. But they have, even in the last 5 years, they've expanded certain areas. So it is bigger.
Like, I know from me going over the years, this is the first time I went up to the 3rd, 4th, and 5th floor. I've never been on there before, ever. That was something new to me. So
I've just never been there before, ever. So, you know, this is the first. Was very large.
It's huge. I'm not gonna deny that. Like when I went up to the 3rd floor, like I felt like I hope I don't get attacked by security. That's what the whole time I was thinking to myself, like the security's gonna chase me down. You see me on the news, a Greek Spartan running across.
I went to I specifically didn't have a lot of stuff scheduled on Thursday so that I could actually go around and explore Javits, because I wanted to make sure that, like, if I had an appointment somewhere, I wasn't going to get lost trying to figure out where it was. And because I was like, I just need to get the lay of the land. That is like literally it. And it actually really worked because I have a pretty good sense of direction once I know where stuff is. Right. So.
Yeah. And I think too,
was this your first time in New York City? I'm sorry, CQ.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Was this your first time in Javits Center in general in New York?
In Javits Center, yes. In New York, no. I'd been to New York a couple of times before.
So how did you feel about Javits Center the first time going there?
I mean, yeah, it was big. I mean, it's bigger than I would say it's definitely bigger than Indianapolis Convention Center, which is where they have Gen Con. But that convention center is also massive. I still think Javits is probably bigger, but it's also built differently than Indiana. So I don't know exactly, but both of those are, they're massive. But thankfully, because of going to Gen Con, and I went last year for the first time there, and had all of the culture shock of big convention because I was used to small conventions. So thankfully, coming to Javits this year, it was like, okay, I'm now used to big conventions. I just need to figure out this layout and I'll be good. So thankfully, I didn't have that shock.
I will say going to Anime Expo helped a lot with Comic-Con, because the only real thing that I was kind of thrown off by was where the gaming stuff is. The gaming stuff was incorporated with the other booths rather than it being like secluded to downstairs. Downstairs was where like all what Artist Alley was at Comic-Con, but not Comic-Con, but in Anime Expo everything was kind of in one spot up on the main floor with all the gaming stuff and like some music thing like being at the very bottom floor.
Yeah. Siki, you were going to say something. I'm sorry to cut you off before. Go ahead, buddy.
Sorry.
Man, lost the thread on that one.
Well, I'm gonna bring up again. So again, that singles event. So we got to get some of these guys in. If you can't find, I'm saying with all that diversity, if you can't find love at Comic-Con, I'm sorry.
I think it's a great idea, just because like let's be real. We all know that, people that are into this kind of stuff aren't typically the Casanovas and the luckiest at love. And so having an opportunity to say, well, hey, we're all passionate about this thing, doing like speed dating. I forget what there's a term for it, but it's like nerd speed dating basically. And that way you can find people that you share passion with. I tell Pete all the time where, the most important thing in having a partner is having shared interests. So if you can build that over your love of all things, nerdy and pop culture, then yeah, man, there's no obstacle you can overcome.
I remember when I met Jenny, your wife, originally back years ago. She was not into all this stuff, and now she's like deep into the pop culture warrior stuff, like you are.
Yeah. I mean, she tolerates. She tolerates.
My wife is like the same way. I mean, I remember first time I didn't think we have a second date. We went 1997. That's when the Star Wars special editions came out in theaters again. Ooh. So I took her to Empire Strikes Back, and she fell asleep in the movie.
Oh no!
And I was like, I don't know if I want another date. I don't know if I want another date with a woman who can't stay up for Star Wars. I'm sorry, but I
don't think we stayed with you, and she went with you to the thing. It's the thought that matters.
I get it, but I'm like, because I'm geeking out because I'm seeing the special effects. I go to her and she's like, passed out. Like it's just not her thing. But I think the one thing we've been able to develop over the years is like there's hers, mine, and ours, right? So we've been able to work that out over time. So she's like, yeah, she'll go to some of the Avengers movies with me. Like the main ones, like if it's like an Avenger title, she didn't go with me to see Thor, or she didn't go with me to see Captain Marvel. You can handle those. I'll be in for the main ones. Okay, fine. So we've been able to kind of negotiate our terms in terms of, now again, as she stuff into, like, I hate Tyler Perry, I hate dramas, I hate love stories, I hate all that stuff. If you want to get a couple of your sisters or whatever, y'all want to have a girls' night out and see that kind of stuff, hey, knock yourself out with the rom-coms and stuff like that. I can care less. But then there's stuff.
I'd like to apologize for my co-host. I will be putting a application out for my new co-host. Applications are welcome. Interviews will be held on.
See, I knew there was a test coming at some point. I knew there was a test coming at some point. I knew there was
Can you step in temporarily to find a replacement?
I'm trying to give hope to those who again live with partners who are not necessarily like I said all in. But
listen, I dated women who didn't like Star Wars, and they looked at me like, ew, Star Wars. I'm like, yeah, but you like makeup, like yeah, okay, you got your thing, I got my thing, so we don't have to argue about this. Like, and
I'm
if
just
you
I'm
do,
just gonna say right now, do not somebody who tried and things did not go how I would like in terms of like, oh hey, it's great getting catfished once or twice. That's fun. So I'm just gonna say right now, when things happen, things happen. Don't pressure, don't rush anything. For me, for myself personally, I know I'm not emotionally ready, so I'm not. I'm good. I'm good
All
right
right, all right.
and you gotta find your time, bro. You know what I'm saying? Or like, but I've been with one of my exes. Like, she hated Marvel. By the time we ended up our relationship, she was more a Marvel freak than I was. She just couldn't stop talking about Marvel. She was talking about getting a whole Marvel tattoo on her back, of all them fighting together. I'm like,
Ooh,
I want like,
now.
wow, I did that to you. I'm like, I'm proud of myself. Cool.
You had an impact, man. That's awesome.
that's
Yeah,
it.
you never know. You might not. You may again. You don't even know till you start. Like, I always watch 1 or 2 movies with me. If you don't like it afterwards, I'm cool with it. If after, usually they're hooked after the second movie because the storyline is so good. Definitely the first couple of MCU movies, and the original timeline was pretty good. What do you think, CQ? Because I know you're the Marvel
Yeah,
king.
yeah, man. I like my Marvel movies, dude.
Absolutely.
Except none of it are coming out lately.
Man. I see Spider Man on the title.
Oh,
I'm
I
sprinting
mean,
to the theater.
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Spider Man's my guy, man.
All right. So Robert, let me ask you then.
Yeah.
Of the 3 Spider-Men in the feature films, who's your favorite?
I love Miles Morales in the animated Spider Man movies.
Okay, all right.
If you talk about live action,
Yeah.
I for me, I like Andrew Garfield's performance quite a bit.
Thank you.
And because I feel like there's a lot of earnestness and emotion when
Yeah,
he's
big time.
performing,
Yeah.
and you really feel that. But I will always enjoy the meme factor of Tobey Maguire, like what he does in the third movie. I'm like, okay, that's great. That's
So
awesome.
Toby,
I love.
I think the argument's going to boil. I see in his face already because we had this argument before. Because Toby was good. The new one is he's okay, kid, but he doesn't want to keep him out. Amazing Spider-Man. He's my man. He's the best Spider-Man that ever played the character.
To not go on topic, the problem with Amazing Spider-Man is that the second movie they kind of rushed things too much and they couldn't properly set up the third one, or either the third one never got a chance to get off the ground. But sorry, Elizabeth, if I cut you off.
Oh no, I was just gonna say Andrew Garfield is just amazing, hands down.
Mm-hmm.
You're again
Phenomenal
3
actor,
against
yeah.
1 now, CQ. You're up 2. Not good. You're ahead.
No, I think Andrew Garfield was the best Spider-Man.
Oh, I thought you liked the new one, the new kid.
No, so let's to be clear, Andrew Garfield's portrayal of Spider-Man, the character Spider-Man, I feel was the closest to the comic book source material as you can be. I don't think he was a very good Peter Parker.
I can understand that.
He's way too cool, way too handsome, way too cool,
I thought it was way too serious.
Got it together. No, Peter Parker doesn't skateboard. I'm sorry. He's not the cool skater kid. That's not Peter Parker.
I was just gonna say that.
I think
that was weird.
Tobey Maguire played the best Peter Parker, not necessarily the best Spider-Man.
I feel so bad for him in Spider-Man 2. He got punched down so hard the whole freaking movie.
Yes. So I think, and then Tom Holland is just the best of collectively the best Spider-Man, I think. So when you're saying an average, if you're giving him an average of like Spider-Man, Peter Parker, whatever. But I mean, it's not really fair because he gets to play with the Avengers and all this other stuff.
Well,
so
the problem with Tom Holland's Spider-Man isn't like he does a bad job. He does. I personally think he does a great job. The problem is the stories he's given. He's get all 3 Spider-Man movies he's in. It feels like an origin story, but kind of paired with like, hey, we're linking him to all these other Marvel heroes and eventually the other Spider-Men. So now he never really got a chance to kind of build himself up as
That's
a
fair.
Spider-Man.
That's
Yeah.
fair. I do.
You
have
didn't
to
think the
say,
one with the
I agree
you didn't
Let
think
the
the
lady
second one he
speak.
got a chance to do that?
I'm sorry?
The one with Mysterio, you don't think the second one he got a chance to kind of be on his own? I know, I mean, because there weren't a ton of Avengers in it. It was a lot of it did center on his, getting
Nick
over his own.
Fury, Maria
Yeah, that's a
Hill.
good
I mean,
argument. Yeah, I definitely
If
can
we-
agree with the second one. He
Mm.
got a chance to build himself up, but the first one and the
I
third
agree
one,
with that. I agree with that.
yeah.
I'm curious because this is again he gives more information about it than I do. Is he got the green lighted the third one, right, CQ?
fourth.
Fourth,
Fourth.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
they just announced it.
I think maybe now he's gonna have a good opportunity to show himself.
I hope
Well,
so.
yeah.
With the way
Mhm.
the one ended, it's definitely like showing that it's going to be an entirely different kind of story. So, but I have to say for the record, absolutely, like, okay, Tom Holland is probably my favorite, but Andrew Garfield is so close. Like, I don't know, it's hard to tell between the two of them. But I loved the newest one that I'm blanking on the name from. I keep wanting to say it's Far From Home, but it's not Far From Home, right? What's
No,
the
it's
third?
No Way Home, I think.
Thank you.
No
Thanks.
Way Home's the newest, yeah.
I love that they brought all three of them together, though. Like that,
Mhm.
Those scenes were so cool when
amazing.
they just
That
talk
was
to
Oh,
each
the
other.
audience pop in those films when
Yeah.
they went nuts when those guys came out.
I
Yeah.
was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And then of course they had
So good.
the Spider-Man meme, the famous meme.
Yes.
Yeah. But do not sleep on the animated Spider-Man movies.
Oh no,
They-
those
No,
are
I've seen it. Now they're great.
Oh,
That
they're
yeah.
good.
I
Oh,
don't. For me, there's still that line of demarcation between an animated film and live action. No matter how good the animated film is, I've always been. There's a suspension in my mind of realism. I think when it comes to an animated film that I don't get in the live action film. So
I will
that's why
say
I've always
this.
had them
I
in
will
separate
say
tiers.
this about animation: there are things you can do in animation that you just simply cannot do in
Oh,
live
very
action.
true. Totally.
And with the animated Spider-Man movies, they cannot be done in live action. What they accomplish in those movies is simply magical. I saw Into the Spider-Verse 3 times in theaters.
Hmm.
I love that movie a lot. Such a good movie. And
Now, having said that, now even after the last Deadpool movie, Deadpool and Wolverine, where they had all those different versions of Deadpool, you still don't think they can pull that off in the Spider-Man franchise?
the reason why the Deadpool worked is with Deadpool, those variations may have appeared maybe once or twice in comics, but I feel like with the multiple Spider-Man that popped up, like there's like major, like they have their own dedicated issues or their own story arcs. And in the actual comics, anyone can correct me if I'm wrong here, but like
well, there's
I
a
don't.
Deadpool core in the comics. They're like they have their own series.
Thank you for correcting.
But I will say this. So I agree with you that like what they were able to achieve in those movies is not you cannot do in live action. That not to say they can't do a live action Into the Spider-Verse. They could, but what they did specifically in those movies and the way they told the stories, like again, if you want to get really into the minutia of it, the simple fact of things like Miles Morales is shot at a different speed than the other Spider-Man, and it's such an intricate decision. It's such a well thought out decision in that he's coming into his own. He's not at their speed. Literally in the movie, frame by frame, he is not at their speed. The giving like in the second one where they gave each character's unique color palette, their unique music and all these things.
Spider-Punk?
You just can't do you couldn't replicate that and make it live action. Now you could do a live action Spider-Verse movie. We were very close to that in Far From Home or No Way Home. We were very close to a Spider-Verse movie, but what they did is a technical masterpiece. I'm a die-hard Spider-Man through and through fan. #1 best character ever made in all of history. I'll fight anyone.
Agreed.
But I will say that animated movie, that is the greatest not just the greatest Spider-Man movie thing ever made, probably the greatest superhero movie ever made, live action or
I just gotta
otherwise.
say, I just gotta say, man, I wish that the second one had a more conclusive ending, because that wait for the third one,
It's killing us, yeah.
it's painful, brother. It's
Yeah.
painful. Oh,
But it's gonna be worth it.
But I
It
think
will.
also begs the argument about, like, having taking like a book and making it into a live action, or taking a book and making it into animation, or a play or something. I mean, because they literally made a Spider-Man musical like that
Yeah.
exists. So it's like, you have
Very badly.
yeah, very bad. You
So
that you have the different mediums and how the different mediums are portrayed. Um, it's different, like that's why taking a book word for word doesn't work to make it into a movie. Like, it's completely different. And like animation is different from live action. So yeah,
For sure.
I could talk on.
before we go, before you have final thoughts, CQ, there's picture of the show. Is that fake or real? Because you know what
No,
I'm
that's Spider-Man Noir. Yeah, it's filming right now.
Yep.
Okay, that's
It's-
true. Okay, I didn't know
Which-
Nicolas Cage is
Same
playing.
same actor too.
Yeah, I have a lot of thoughts on it. I mean, when Sony's name is on it, you have to really 50-50 if it's going to be any good. But I don't know. I like the character of Spider-Man Noir. I've been a fan of it since since its inception. I'm not sure how I feel about an aging man playing Spider-Man Noir, but I think from what I've read, they're going to lean into that as part of the story, in that he used to be a superhero. He's kind of retired and is now kind of being forced out of retirement and picking up the suit once again. So I think if they're leaning into that it's almost like an old man Logan-esque style take on the character. I'm like, all right, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt.
If we get a Logan, if the Spider-Man Noir movie is Sony's answer to Logan, let's go. Let's
The
Yeah,
only thing I
we'll
would
see.
say, and we're gonna go to final thoughts off that, and I'm making my final announcement after that too, is I don't think Nicolas Cage will be a good actor for that, because his career is pretty much ending at this point, I feel.
I mean,
So-
he did play
He's
the
not,
character
come on, he's
already.
not another one of them. Nicolas Cage killed it as Ghost Rider, being crazy. Let's go. I don't mind seeing crazy.
Let's not go there. We're gonna open another hour conversation. All right, let's go to final thoughts. CQ, go first. Robert, Paul, and Elizabeth, and I'll finish with my last announcement.
Final thoughts on what specifically? Yeah,
Anything you want to say? You want to just throw your tags where people can find you? We can keep it nice and simple.
Okay. So yeah, I'm CQ. I have a show called Pop Culture Warrior. It airs live Tuesday nights on WTF Nation Radio. We're on every social media platform. So if you look up Pop Culture Warrior, you'll find me. We do basically talk about what's going on in pop culture. And then I do interviews with actors, directors, comedians from all around the entertainment industry. And it's live and it's fun. And because it's an hour-long interview, we can usually go deeper and more in depth than most like 5-minute, 10-minute interviews. We can really talk about their life and their passions and all those things. And it's usually a lot of fun. And then I do have another show, if I can plug, called FTX. It's a Friday night tabletop exercise. It's basically just a bunch of vets getting together and doing tabletop gaming. And we just live stream it. And the audience is really part of the show. People that know like Critical Role and those kind of things. It's similar to that, but just a bunch of vet guys. It's not vet bros. We're not that kind. We're usually being very silly and having a good time laughing. I think we kept it real casual yesterday. We were just playing like Uno Flip and Monopoly Deal, and but sometimes we get into the hardcore. Yeah, we get into the hardcore games, like you're almost like your D&D and Pete, you were awesome. You gave us an Assassin's Creed board game, which was thoroughly intense. It has like a 300-page manual. It's crazy. So we're gonna get back into that one as well. So yep, that's every other Friday night. Yes, and Muffin Time. That's a classic.
I was on vacation seeing him, and we were literally screaming at you at some point. I'm like,
Yes.
what the fuck is going on here?
It's a fun game. It's a silly name, but it's a fun game. But yeah, so Pop Culture Warrior everywhere, and FTX Friday night.
All right, Robert, you're up.
All right, it was an honor talking with all you guys
Same.
and meeting some of you in person at the Secret Level event. It was, and so thank you for inviting me on. You can find me on Twitter at RK1283. I'm one of the editors / writers for lordsofgaming.net. My most recent article is my very long Sonic X Shadow Generations review, but we also have a ton of Comic-Con coverage. And every Sunday there's the Iron Lords podcast, where like the lords Cog, Sov, Addict, King all talk about like video game stuff. And it's always a lot of fun. It's a bit chaotic, but it's very enjoyable. And gotta plug a lot of my other writers and editors that I work with. Mood, he's a fantastic editor. Flame, Gene, PD, etc. Everyone kills it on the website. We cover a lot of different types of video games, and it would be honored if anyone watching this / listening to this gives the outside a look. We also have a YouTube channel as well. I also have my own personal podcast. I work with have my buddy Press X Code and Culture podcast. Because of time zone differences, we're not as uploads on as common as we would like to be, but we're in the process of figuring that all out. So check that out as well if you're interested. And just thank you so much for letting me be on. It was really awesome talking with you guys.
Definitely. All right, Paul, you have anything?
Well, in about 29 minutes, I will turn 55 years of age.
Congratulations!
And it's just appreciated. And if I don't look 55, for those of you who may say that, I think a lot of it is because I'm at heart. I'm a kid at heart, and I just gotta say that again. Really appreciative to Peter and to CQ for certainly allowing me to be a part of this group and to experience things that all this time. Like I said, it's my first Comic-Con. So again, it doesn't matter what your age is or whatever, you can still, relive your childhood experiences. You can still, participate in the things that, you kind of grew up on. And I still have that youthful energy. And I think that's in part of what keeps me young. My goal is not to get older. My goal is to get wiser. And so, you don't have to give up your pursuits and whatnot. I used to think people used to say adulting was like, okay, yeah, I got to watch the opera at the theater and stuff like that. Nothing wrong with those things. But you know what? I can still rock a comic book, or I can still rock an anime or a Godzilla movie or anything else. And I can start talking about current affairs. So again, you don't have to give up, give up your passions or whatnot as my man Eric said, in the mundane's world. You can certainly have some freedom in other places. So really appreciate being a part of this space, and certainly looking forward to better and bigger and better things in the future. Again, so another thing, there's a lot of people think about winding down. I have no intention of doing that. I'm gonna work until I can't work anymore. I'm gonna still keep living life. I got another half a life to live here, God willing, and I'm just looking forward to bigger and better things. So so stay young at heart, and keep doing those things that you love. So appreciate you guys.
Nice. Elizabeth, you're up.
Yeah. So you can find me at Culture Slate magazine under Elizabeth Dresdo. I write a lot of the Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power, Star Wars, gaming articles. So if you want to look for specific stuff, that's kind of what I write. But check out all of our content. We also have a YouTube channel. I think it's just called Culture Slate. Last I checked. We had to change some things around on YouTube, so that's why. But yeah, it's Culture Slate, one word. Magazines, YouTube, all that fun stuff. I'm also on Instagram, just me personally, as Elizabeth Dresdo, author. So yeah, you can check me out. And thank you.
I want to thank everybody who showed up. So my announcement is, if you're following me, we have our first giveaway. I picked up some mystery box for you guys. So how to enter is very simple. For the month of November, you have to be sub to the channel and you got a comment. A comment has the New York Comic Con on it, and I will select somebody from there and I will send it out. Don't give some back to you guys. Simple as that. It's the time of giving coming close. Like I'm taking a little quote out of Q's book. I know he's like to give, and so I'm giving back too. But you must be sub to the channel. You must like the stream and you must comment. That's how to enter. And I'll do a live giveaway, a little spin to do, like figure out how to do that later. I might have to pick your brain a little CQ for that one. But except that, the next couple weeks schedule really fast, so everybody know what's going on. Is I bring my nose back up, be nice. All right, we're gonna be talking about Star Wars next week. If Anakin Skywalker is the real chosen one. Tomorrow is also the gray area. Except that's all I have. Anything else, guys? Before we go, as always, as I always like to end, stay safe, and stay fresh as always. I see you guys on the next one.
Good night, all. Great seeing you.